Okay, let me ask you a question here. What do you think a gentleman should look like? If you're into fashion, you might think immediately of style, classic tailoring, clean silhouettes, the iconic aesthetic of a gentleman. I mean, of course, that's a huge cornerstone of men's fashion. But perhaps you disagree. You might say that it has nothing to do with style. It's more about character, how you carry yourself, and how you treat others around you. Well, if you happen to be a student of Chinese philosophy, you might agree with both. And you might say that these ideas are more connected than you would think. So I'll explain. In Confucian thought, there's kind of this idea that what we choose to wear reveals the spirit and character of who we are. It's not just fabric, but also a way to project our virtues. I think that makes some sense. We step out into the world, we meet people, and our clothes express ideas about us before we even get to say anything. So let's go back. How do we express this idea of a gentleman? What does that look like in China? I think we have to first unpack this word, the gentleman. What are we actually talking about here? The modern translation for the Western coded gentleman is 绅士. It's a word that actually has a history of its own as well, but today it evokes those specific ideas we associate with the Western gentleman. Politeness, etiquette, manners, ideas that I guess we're all kind of familiar with. But is that all there is to it here? Does that really explain all that we see in Chinese fashion today? I would say no, and that there are other cultural threads at play here, those that express a uniquely Eastern Chinese point of view. So let's try to reframe this. If you study Chinese philosophy, you'll find that there's a very similar analog to what we call this quote-unquote gentleman, and that's the concept of the 君子. This is an idea with fundamentally Chinese origins, very highly regarded in Confucian ethics. The 君子 holds themselves to rigorous standards, but treats others with ease and tolerance. It's a title that you earn by being morally upright, self-disciplined, and devoted to lifelong cultivation. And according to Confucian ethics, these ideas can manifest in how you present yourself to the world. And so what does that look like? I think we can find glimpses of this in literati art, depictions of those who were well studied and aspired to the 君子 ideal. We can look at the kinds of aesthetic choices they made and match that up to what we see today. Minimal forms that express moderation and restraint, neutral colors that reflect a purity of character, unique approaches to the color that project steadiness and balance. And we also see a more subtle sense of structure compared to their Western counterparts, one that relies on the quality of weight and drape to express a soft, calm, and composed presence. Now, these are design choices that can certainly live by themselves, and many of these can achieve global appeal as they currently have. But I think it's so much more interesting, and we unlock so much more depth when we approach fashion as a part of culture, when we look at the aesthetic history of its references, and discuss those specific cultural memories that they evoke. I think that's what makes fashion such a powerful way to communicate meaning. And I also think that's what makes Chinese fashion so exciting right now. They address compelling questions. What happens when Chinese ethics meets Western tailoring? When cultural memory collides with contemporary desires? I think the mark of a great designer is when they work in those nebulous intersections and is still able to put forward a perspective that is clearer and cuts through. That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking forward to in Chinese fashion these days. Let me know what you think about all of this as well, and thank you for watching.